What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some things that wide receivers do not want to do at the top of the route when it comes to their breaks and their cuts. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it teaches you a few new things about cuts and how to be a more efficient route runner. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to know everything that you should be doing on a daily basis when it comes to workouts in the gym, workouts on the field to improve your route running, etc., check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. What you'll get access to is an 8-week daily gym and on-field schedule for wide receivers with drills, gym exercises, the works, broken down for you with sets, reps, and we give an example of each exercise. So check out that very first link below if interested, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So now, what we're going to be discussing today is how wide receivers can avoid slipping on their cuts. So this is a whip route right here, but this is like, we're not going to talk too much about the whip break, the steps of the break. We're going to talk about the mechanics of any route. So when you guys snap down at the top of a route, like let's say it's, a comeback, let's say it's a curl, let's say it's something like this, like a whip. When you guys drop your hips and you try to get out of the route, it is super, super important that you do not let your feet get outside of your frame. That is where slips happen. That is where injuries happen, number one. And that is how you become very, very off balance and not efficient out of the break. So when this receiver drops into this whip route, he does a great job. He snaps down, he gets low. But when you guys try to get out of the break with your upper body before the feet get down, that is where the slips happen. Because you see, when he's trying to get out of this route, he's trying to turn out of there with his body, and look where his foot is. His foot is outside of his frame. He's trying to get out of it so fast, and you can appreciate that. But when you guys try to leave without your feet, that's where the slips happen. That is where we become off balance. You see how he's here and he's slipping outside of his frame. It's just because the foot steps overly wide, or it steps too wide, because the body is leaving. What you guys want to do on every single route where you snap down, a comeback, a curl, a whip route like this, those feet stay under your frame, you come to balance, and you focus on driving out with your feet, not turning with your upper body. The feet will get you out of the route. The hips get you into the break. The feet will get you out of the break. But we have to make sure that we stay low, feet stay underneath your frame so we can drive. So we're going to play this again full speed. This is obviously the example where the wide receiver slips a bit. And then we're going to show a good example of a hip drop from Jerry Jeudy and how you guys can avoid slipping now on this route from a good example. So Jeudy does a great job. Again, so many wide receivers will slip on their breaks, I feel, because they are very, very worried about steps. Okay, so what I mean by that is like when you guys snap down, in theory, everybody would love to be able to run as hard as they can, break on a dime, and get out of a route in 3 steps. Very, very, very unlikely. You don't even see that in the NFL where receivers get out of breaks. Well, you do see it, but you don't see it that often. And it's usually on shorter routes, like maybe 12 yards at the absolute max. So you see Jeudy, when he drops into this, how many steps does he take? That's his first step. That's his trigger step. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's his 5th step, 6. So 6 steps at the top of the route. So many wide receivers are so caught up in eliminating steps that they forget how to sell vertical, but also they try to get out of it too quick with their body. Their feet don't stay under their frame, and that's what will make them slip. This is a perfect example of how Jeudy is able to keep his steps underneath him. And he's not worried about slowing himself down by worried about steps. He's worried about selling fade, dropping his hips, and keeping his feet under him to drive out of the route. 3 phases of every route. You got to be able to sell vertical, you got to break, and you have to accelerate. So to accelerate, I need those feet inside my frame, because if I'm slipping, I'm not accelerating. So you see when Jeudy drops, he snaps down. I want to make this very clear. When it's time to make a tight cut, when it's time to make any type of cut, you have to make sure that we get low. You're snapping down on a curl, you're snapping down on a comeback, you have to make sure that we get low. Set yourself up by getting to that low explosive spot. Now, when I get to this low explosive spot, you see how his feet, they stay under his frame. That never leaves his frame. He's not overly reaching. He's not trying to turn too much with his body without his feet. Those feet stay under his frame the entire time. That is where we get power. That is how we can stay active with my feet, and that is how I can get speed out of this break. But fellas, you try to turn, you try to lean back, we will slip every dang time. What a lot of wide receivers do on this type of break that Jeudy does here is that they'll snap down, but instead of that chest going forward, instead of us getting low, being an explosive spot, they try to turn their chest. They try to turn with their shoulders and their hips this way. And when your body leaves, like we said, body leaves without the feet, that is when we slip. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great example here from Jeudy showing how we cannot slip at the top of the break by just simply keeping those feet under your frame and making sure we get to that low explosive spot. So now, next clip we're going to see here is this slide release. So we're going to talk about why wide receivers slip on, like cuts, like top of the route, like a post cut, a corner cut, maybe like off of a release. Why do wide receivers slip? And usually it has to do with them reaching. So let's talk about this. So this wide receiver is Brandon Innes. He does this slide release, and you see how he kind of has a drag of the foot, maybe slips a tad, because when he throws this cut to the outside, he's reaching, right? So in any time that you guys are throwing a cut, you want to try to keep it inside of your frame, like we were saying. Just like when you're trying to run a comeback, you don't want the feet to get outside of your frame and then we run out. Just like a curl, just like a post route. Just like this slide release. You do not want to try to reach for anything, because when you reach outside of your frame and this foot is here instead of here, obviously that takes away explosion, and that is what causes the slip. Because when you guys make a cut, the goal is to be able to drive off the cut. We stick and we push off the cut. But if you do this and you reach outside your frame, you cannot push. So what's going to end up happening? You're going to drag the back foot. You're going to maybe slip out of the break. You're going to be a little off balance. We have to make sure whenever I make that cut, it is inside of that frame. So one thing that you guys can think about, because it's easy for me to sit here and say, hey, make sure you cut inside your frame. Hey, don't reach, don't reach, don't reach. But what's something I need to think about to fix that? How can that process for me? And something that I tell a lot of my receivers is, we'll say keep your chest slightly ahead of your waist. Because if you reach out, what happens? Your chest tends to pop up, or it gets even with your waist. You're not staying in that like slightly position where it's not hunched forward, but you have like an athletic lean forward. We're not there in this position. The foot goes out ahead of myself. My chest is kind of straight up in the air with my waist, with my hips, and that is what causes the reach. But if you guys stay chest over waist when you throw that cut, it is impossible to reach because you have such a good forward lean. So fellas, make sure that we are not reaching. That is what will cause the toe drag. That is what will cause the slip and limit my explosion out of this break. Let's play this thing again full speed, and then we will show a good example of a wide receiver running this like Slugo route where he keeps his cuts inside of his frame. So obviously on a Slugo route, it's the same like type of cut, if you will, I guess. It's like pretty much like that stick, right? You're just pulling that one hard cut, just like that slide release. So when he decides to make this cut, he's running a Slugo, right? So he breaks, it's 3 steps on the slant. You see how that third step is inside of his frame. He is not reaching. When that cut hits, you see how it is underneath his shoulders. He's not reaching out for it. He's not trying to get to a certain like depth, if you will, to try to get this DB to bite. He has speed, he has stride, and he's able to cut right in stride. That is what will get you open, fellas. That is how we create energy, and that is how we get explosion on the route. So when you cut in stride like this, not going to slip. Now what he can do is he can push off of it. You hit that third step, like let's say it's a Slugo, right? Those 3 steps where you're trying to sell, trying to get this DB to crash, and I put the brakes on. And when I put the brakes on, my goal is to push off of that brake step, keep my head down, and accelerate and pump those arms. And if I can do that and accelerate, pump the arms, and widen the distance from the DB, I'm open. So if you don't reach to sell it, if you don't reach way out there, go heel toe, that DB has to drive on it. He has to honor that slant, but not only that, that'll make your cut a little bit smoother, more balanced, more explosion. We'll be able to get up into this route. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver, selling the slant, taking a full 3, but being able to cut inside his frame so he has balance and more explosion. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you would like our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout schedule, daily wide receiver gym exercises, and on-field drills, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.